march into the past. The moments pass.
Okay, so here we are with a tutorial. I've got this Maya set up. I already got a project started up, and I'm setting this up for units. We got grid lines at 8 and 8, which makes for whatever, and I turned it to pink just because. Now, here we got some reference that I found. I want to kind of do this cool dragon sort of look here on a wall. So I've got this reference, and I've kind of laid out this. I got a picture of a wall, and I got a picture of this, just a rough sketch that I did for this wall. Kind of these pillars and stuff next to it, and I'll sort of imprint. And then later on, I'll go into detail with ZBrush and do the dragon piece. So these are, it's going to be multiple parts building this wall. Let's get rid of this grid options. I've set up the grid options to be just divisions of 8. And you can change colors and everything. Not a big deal. That's underneath display and grid options. So first off, let's start with a box. And just a nice simple little box. Go to sort of the top view and look at it, and what we want to do is maybe select the vertices, and we want to also select the grid, because you can snap it. You'll notice that there's all these in-between snaps because I've set it to have like a number of I believe it's like 8 snap points between each box, and then you snap on the box. So I've got multiple little zones that I can snap on. I can snap halfway through the boxes, or 1/8, 1/4, or something like that. So with this setup though, for most part I want to try and stay on the squares most of the time, because that helps to create modular setups. The thing about modular settings is it allows you to kind of like stack and duplicate. You can like place your stuff all over, and this is obviously, there's a lot of repeat going on for this wall here, right? So right now I'm going to try and kind of arrange the height so that it kind of fits visually, and if I can get it to work on even increments throughout on these squares, then that'll work a little better. So I'm just sort of sorting it out and deciding my size and kind of visualizing it a little bit more. So I'm going to go with like 4 on each side, and the height feels kind of good. Maybe a little higher, and make sure to set it on the 0 plane. And now what you want to do is you want this middle piece is going to be kind of its own whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete out. I want doors. I'm going to have separate pieces for the door knockers themselves. So I've got a couple of different pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, essentially different whole chunks that I'm going to work for. And I'm going to go ahead and delete down, right down the middle. I'm going to basically mirror this. So I'm going to grab the split selected edge ring tool, which you can also find under edit mesh. All these are under mesh. Edit mesh and mesh have all of these tools. So I'm going to lay out right in the middle, and then I'll select them, select the vertices, and make sure they're just sitting in the middle. And then I don't particularly worry about this other half. I'm going to delete this other half, because that leaves me with, I can always mirror the geometry over or duplicate it in a mirror fashion, and so now I just have to work half as much. It's just an efficiency thing, and I want to kind of, now I'm going to kind of start utilizing the extrude tool here to kind of lay in some of these pieces, and this is where I kind of feel like it needs to maybe be a bit wider, just so I can keep working with these edges. So I'm going to give 2 for the pillar there, like a 2x2 pillar, and then maybe 1 and then 2 for the door kind of thing. And how tall do I want the door to be? And I probably want to heighten this a little bit more. So there we go. So I've got like a, kind of a 6 by 5 kind of thing going on. And this will be the door here. So now I'm just gonna need to basically kind of place one more piece in there because I got kind of a recessed little area. So one more edge loop. And again, probably want to widen this a little bit. Yeah, we're going to give the door a little more space. 2 and 2. No. Yeah, looks good. Now we'll delete those out. The whole purpose for deleting this out is you don't need this. You don't need these bottom pieces either. So we basically delete all the geometry that we don't really need. You're not going to see this. So at this point, it's probably worth it to put like a floor in because it's sitting on a floor. This part would be underneath it, and we can kind of extend that later on. It helps a little bit to kind of create something that you feel like it's sitting on. So here's a floor, just a real simple plane, and then take that and it probably would help to, yeah, it's going to be indented. So let's go ahead and extrude. This is where extrusions come into play big time, right? Make sure to keep your faces together. For the most part, you want that almost always. And then we'll extrude, and then we want to click here because that will create sort of a world, and in we go, right? Kind of scale them inwards. Use the scale one. Delete these. We don't need these. And we don't need sort of the bottom pieces either. So there we go. So far, bam, right? Now another issue is I can't quite see through some of this, so we're going to go, it's not under show, it's under shading. We want to remove backface culling. Turn it on. So now you can kind of see through. Right, this is how they set up games. You could see through geometry from the backside. Alright, so with that set up, we kind of got a clear view. We can still select everything and all. So this is the side view, and we're going to extend this a little bit just because it could probably use a little more space. If I make it like 3 wide, then we got a little more room to play. Right, like these end up on the ones. Here's one space, here's one space, and then one space for the doors that we'll put in. Makes a nice thickness, keeping everything kind of proportional. And we'll extrude and world extrude and move it on over. Now, it snaps into place, but for some reason, see if you click a single vertex, you can actually just see what's right. If you click both, you should be able to move both. If you click one, you're always going to select the first one in the row, and then you can move it. And we want to merge these, so you want to select both of them, hit merge. There's a threshold setting here. The threshold kind of determines how far out it will try to merge things. So if you select like 4 points, if they're outside of that merge distance, they won't merge. And there's sort of an issue with this top one. If I try and merge it, for some reason it won't merge, and it's just sort of bizarreness. So this is an issue of troubleshooting. It might have to do with maybe some of the planes or the way they were set up, or maybe it has to do with the snap to, and they're not like realizing they're snapped. So I can adjust the merge vertice here to try and get them to snap and reassess, but it still isn't. So in this case, sort of another thing to do, is what we can try is maybe drag one of them apart, and then make sure that you're grabbing both of them, right? Like this, hold down shift and click both, and then try and just sort of scale, and then try and snap them. Let's see, there you go. It's strange that it's doing that. This one was fine. So it's just sort of being a bizarre little thing, but yeah. So now, so we have this sort of indentation now, and sort of this setup, and we'll select these edges. If you double click, it'll select an entire edge loop. You just want a single select. Hold down shift and select. Select, select, select. There's 3. And then we're going to extrude this again. And out we go. And then we'll take these points and we'll merge them. If you hold down G, if you're merging a bunch of them, you can always just hit G. It'll merge. G is the hotkey for sort of the last action you did. Alright, and then we'll just make sure these are lined up. There we go. And there you have it. Now I've got this indentation. I got this wall started. And we can always check on making sure that the wall's doing what we want it to do by merely I like to mirror. I like to mirror things over. So one of the best ways to do that is to I'm just checking to make sure it kind of lines up. Yeah. So that piece is going to be out. Let me get this real quick, and then I'll mirror it over. I'll show you how I like to mirror. So this is another extrusion, right? To kind of pull it out, because essentially, it's a wall piece, and we're going to use the scale. So we're going to kind of tug it out this way, and there's the extra geometry, and then this top one we'll just select it and pull it up. You're going to get sort of these. It creates a box with edge loops on it. But that's good. You can kind of do extra stuff with it then. It doesn't need to be too high, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it like a half point. And now I've got sort of an outward pushing piece of ledging that I can continue to work with. I can do bits of detailing or beveling too. Get rid of these. You don't need these. Delete these out. Yeah. So it's starting to get a nice little base build, as it were. Now, okay, so for mirroring, right there's the pivot points down here, and you hit insert, and you can move it just by middle mouse clicking wherever you want it to go, and it's going to snap to grid at the moment. But you can also hold down C or click the curve up there and snap it to a curve with the middle mouse. So holding down C and middle mousing on a curve, we'll put it in the middle there, and then we'll go to underneath mesh, mirror geometry, and it mirrored backwards, so we gotta set that. Go to it mirrored in the plus X. We want it to mirror in the minus minus X. Apply, and there you go.